Welcome to the Author's Edge radio show with Guy L. Freer. Each week on their show, they help authors create books that transform our lives and imaginations. Through radio excellence, they create a unique community resource, one that promotes, connects, and fosters a sense of well-being. They serve listeners by providing outlets for their creative skills and energies, and they help them flourish in the competitive marketplace. Their weekly show provides intros, writing spotlights, helps you in promoting your book, your writing, your publishing, your marketing tidbits, and much more. Okay, audience, here's the Author's Edge radio show with Guy L. Freer.
Author's Edge radio show. I am your host, Guy L. Freer, and I am so excited to kick off another season of thoughtful, lively conversations with writers, publishers, songwriters, illustrators, and artists as we dive deep into the art of storytelling. Catch us every Saturday at 8 a.m. and Sunday at 7 a.m. on KWRH FM 929 and KXOK FM 102, or stream online at KWRH.com and KXOK.com, and on the free apps iHeartRadio, Odyssey, and TuneIn. Author's Edge also airs nationwide Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. on the My Genre Radio Network. Missed an episode? You can find us anytime on SoundCloud, YouTube, or at authorsedge.org. Now that's authorsedge.org. And today's guest is author Diane M. Howe. Born and raised in Missouri, Diane is all about family and fun. And when she's not reading or writing, she enjoys walking with her husband of 54 years and basket weaving with her daughter, Laura. Diane is the author of women's fiction series Dahlonega Sisters, and the romantic suspense novels Burning Embers and Spark to Flame. She is a member of the Missouri Writers Guild and the St. Louis Writers Guild, and she serves as treasurer of Saturday Writers, a nonprofit organization dedicated to encouraging writers. More than 30 of Diane's award-winning short stories and poems have been published in various anthologies, and I am delighted to welcome her to the studio today on this beautiful, crisp February afternoon. Welcome to the show, Diane.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. It's wonderful to have you. Now, your work blends heart and tension and an insight into a compelling way, and I'm excited to dive in. Now, you were born and raised in Missouri.
Yes.
Right? How have those roots shaped you both as a person, as a writer?
I think that from my childhood, family was most important. Yeah. And we always had a tight-knit family. I come from a family of 7 children. And
7.
Yeah.
Wow.
And my husband also had 7 children in his family. So that was the basis of our foundation.
And those are large families.
Yes, they are, and we're still tight. We're my brothers and sisters. We're in touch with each other all the time. Yeah, we try to meet once a month at a pizza place, and just to stay in touch and catch up with each other on how things are going.
That sounds like so much fun.
Yeah, it is.
You've been married for 54 years.
Yes.
Okay, which is a nice long time. How has that long partnership influenced the way you write about relationships?
I think it gives me a lot of experiences to draw upon. My husband and I have some interests together. We used to hunt and fish, or fish together. We also do like to go to the casino quite often. So,
do you win a lot?
No, not necessarily.
My mom and dad used to go to the casinos.
Oh yeah,
yeah, they did. My mom and dad live in Arizona. My dad since passed away, but my mom, when they were both hanging out there, they would go to the casinos frequently.
We probably have done it more so now that we're both retired, and it sometimes interferes with my writing, but we try to find a balance.
I understand. I do understand. Now, family clearly means an awful lot to you. So how does that sense of family show up in your stories?
I love demonstrating how we can all be different, especially brothers and sisters. You can have different opinions. And as long as we keep our eyes open and our ears open and listen with our hearts, we can overcome those differences and we can see the other side of the story. I'm really strong in even with politics or religion or anything. When you hear one side of a story, I always want to hear the other before making any judgment, and just know that there's always something underlying that causes us to react the way we do. And sometimes you have to dig a little to find out what that is.
There's always a why.
Yeah. So in my books, I like to get readers to open their minds and think, oh, I never thought of it that way. Or, oh, maybe that's why that friend reacted like that, or maybe I should stop and think a little before I react, So,
have you always enjoyed writing, or did it grow up? Did you grow over time?
As a child, I did a lot of pen paling. I had pen pals, and I still have some of those friends today.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
when you talk about pen paling, who do you are they far away? Are they close? Or
one actually lived near Farmington. So rural, and I would see her occasionally, but we would stay in touch. Others have moved on that I haven't stayed in contact with, but it was just a way of communicating as a young, not even teenager, maybe a little bit younger than that.
Ever have foreign people from other countries as pen pals?
We did with our Girl Scout troop. We actually had a girl that we pen palled with for that. So I was a volunteer. I still am a lifetime member of Girl Scouts. And so we met different friends from across the countries and stayed in touch with them. So that was neat.
Diane, you say staying in touch. Do you do it traditionally, letter writing?
I'm a letter writer. I'm a pen to paper gal.
That's kind of a lost art,
Yeah, it is. But I love to send cards with certain notes in it.
I do too.
And, my husband doesn't handle it too well when I travel. And so last year I went to Europe with my daughter. And so it was going to be an extended visit. Well, I got a bunch of cards, and I wrote a card for every day, and I would mail them sequentially. And I even gave them to friends to mail for me, so that hopefully every day or two he would get a card in the mail with a note in it. So, and now I'm doing that with a friend who's going through some troubles. And so, I just like
think
to
that's
do that.
delightful.
Yeah.
I love that. I think it's something that we have gotten away with because of modern technology and the emailing and the texting and that kind of thing. I think that's something that that not only have we gotten away from, but it has taken away an aspect of our history as well. That like during hard times, you would write letters, and there's a historical aspect, like just being able to keep track of day-to-day life. You've been looking at a lot of your. I'm talking to my husband right now, who's sitting right next to me, but he's been going through a lot of family stuff. And he's found family letters and things like that. And those letters bring out a lot of family history and just day-to-day life, like being at the farm, or, what did you do today, and that kind of thing. We use emails now, and those emails get lost or get deleted, or they don't get kept for one reason or another, or we text, or it doesn't we don't keep anything like that anymore. And so I think there's an aspect of life that gets lost today that we don't have.
And I think it's a treasure. I think probably almost everybody has that one letter or that one piece of paper, even just a little post-it note that somebody gave them that touched their life, and they've never forgotten it.
And
so
you don't have your mother's handwriting?
I have my letters that my dad wrote to my mom when he was in the service. So,
things like that get lost.
Yeah.
So I think that's a treasure that we have since kind of lost, and it's kind of sad.
It is. It
is. I admire you for keeping that aspect going.
Thank you.
So anyway, when you're not writing, what kinds of things do you enjoy doing?
Of course, I like to read. I don't read near as much as I should, probably, being a writer.
What things do you enjoy reading? Favorite author?
Lighthearted. Gotta be Kristen Hanna. She's one of my favorite. I know I used to read a lot of Debbie McCombers, and I always thought, wow, if I could write series like that, So I kind of think that my Dahlonega series sort of took off in that area. In fact, I think I remember one of her series, she actually had introductory pages where she named all the characters, because you get so many characters when you're doing a series that you're trying to figure out who they all are. And so I followed that thought process with my last Dahlonega book, and so I have a list of all the characters and how they're connected.
It helps your reader.
I think so, and it refreshes me too when I'm writing it to remember, okay, these are the details about this particular character. My characters talk to me. They tell me the story. When I wrote the first Dahlonega book, sister book, I really had no intention of making it a series or writing another one. But I found that the sisters were telling me, we're not done. We have some more stories to tell you. And so that's how the second and third book came out.
You and your husband enjoy walking together.
We do.
And do these quiet moments spark story ideas?
Part of my problem with when I'm walking is that my head is going through, okay, what am I going to write in this next chapter, or what am I going to do? I love nature, and I love to see all that when we're walking in that. And so I try to stay focused on that. But I know a lot of times I'll be drifting off thinking, okay, I'm really struggling with this chapter. What is the problem, And so then, but he draws me back in, and he'll say, did you see that, raccoon running over there? He loves nature, and he sees every animal, especially when he's driving. It's like, oh, look, there's a deer over there, and it's like, oh goodness, it's on the road. Exactly. But he has a really good sense of humor, and he tolerates my writing and my craziness.
How does your husband influence your writing?
Actually, he reads all my books, and he's read the Dahlonega Sisters series 3 times now. I mean,
wow.
So he enjoys it, and he's a big teaser. So if it's just me and him talking, he does a lot of, it's not important in that. But then when he's with somebody else, he's kind of bragging on it all the time. So, so he understands that it takes a lot to write a novel.
Oh yeah.
And he's really good about giving me space to do that and time to do that.
Does he influence your stories?
Probably. I'm sure there's a character or two that possibly he's represented. Actually, I always warn him that he might show up in the next short story, or so. But I think probably humor more than anything. He just has. We both have a good sense of humor, and it's what pulls you through life you know.
Well,
I don't know
if
what
you don't have
people
any,
don't.
yeah.
Yeah.
If you can't laugh, then
Yes.
I don't understand.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you make it?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Do everyday activities ever surprise you by turning it into a story or inspiration?
I think with my short stories, it does. I uh, haven't written as many short stories lately because I'm working on another novel, but I've written quite a few short stories about things that have happened in our family. You know, I can remember this one Thanksgiving. We always host the family when they come, and so
All 7 and 14?
they're not all there all the time, but we had probably 20, 25 people there
Holy
for
Toledo.
Thanksgiving dinner, and they all left, and I was exhausted, and I thought, oh, I'm gonna have a glass of wine. So I pour my glass of wine in a nice crystal glass, you know, and I set it on the table. And then I went and got a piece of chocolate, and I come back in and I sat down.
I love it. A
And
glass
I-
of wine and a piece of chocolate. Right
Well,
up my
sure.
alley.
Well, I thought I deserved it after a long
Yeah.
day.
Oh, yeah. After 25
So,
people?
When I
Heck
picked
yeah.
up when I picked up the glass, it for some reason it tipped and it hit the metal lamp that we had sitting there, and it just shattered into a million pieces.
No.
And it went from the table onto the carpeting, and so then I jumped up and he come in because he heard it, and he said, well, what'd you do that for? And I said, so you can yell at me some more. But that's just how we
I had
are.
nothing else to do.
So we spent the next 2 hours cleaning it off the walls, off the floor, everything, you know. And that certainly made it into one of my stories. And it actually won. I don't know if it was the first place or not, but anyway, it made it into the anthology. And there's quite a few stories like that in the anthologies of just crazy stuff that happens. So
And of course, it was a red wine and not a white wine. Right?
absolutely, you know, it had to be
Yeah,
red
and the
wine.
carpet was a light colored carpet.
Yes, yes.
And the tablecloth was white.
Oh, it was just everywhere, and
Yeah.
the little pieces of glass trying to get
Oh,
him
my
up and
gosh.
everything. And I was so tired. And he was so tired. We were there for at least 2 or 3 hours. We found every drop of rug cleaner that we could find. But we did get it up, and we got the stain out.
You
so-
were
which was
fortunate on
amazing.
that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. But those are the kind of stories that he influences because, you know, I'm honest about it. You know, I'll throw in the extra little things that he says and does, you know. And he did. He come charging in the room, you know. What'd you do that for? Well, you know.
I had nothing else to
Right,
do.
exactly. You know, I thought the evening
That sounds
wasn't
like-
done yet, you know.
Yeah.
Would ask.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
yeah. Anyway, it was just a fun thing to write about, you know. But we've had a number of those little stories that end up in writing in the story somewhere. So,
Yeah, I
so.
perfectly understand. Has Missouri ever felt more like just a backdrop, almost like a character in your story? Do your stories take
No.
place in Missouri?
No, actually, they take place in Dahlonega, Georgia, which is actually the first gold rush town in the United States.
Okay.
Most people think about it being California, but it was actually in Georgia. And my brother and his wife lived there for, I guess, almost 30 years.
Uh-huh.
And the town is just the most lovely, exciting, quiet, but fun-filled town. Right in the middle of the town square, they have a gold museum, and it just captured my heart, and that's how I end up writing the story to take place there.
Uh-huh.
You know, and so that certainly influenced me in all 3 of the Dahlonega sister books, because there's just so many places to visit and to see. I mean, you can go to a gold mine and pan for gold. You can ride the horse and carriage around the town square. You know, they have a wonderful Christmas event, and they have a Gold Rush Festival every year. So while Missouri, I haven't written uh, much about Missouri in my
Right.
books, but I have because I fell in love with Dahlonega.
Okay.
So
what time frame was Dahloneg's story take place?
they're contemporary.
Contemporary?
Yeah. And it's actually a funny story of how I got started writing the Dahlonega sisters. I had a dear friend, an elderly friend, who wanted me to write her book.
Mm-hmm.
And so she just was insistent on it.
Before you get started,
Sure.
I have a radio show identifier to do. You're listening to Author's Edge on KWRH FM 929 and KXOK FM on 1029, featuring today's guest, which is Diane Howe, author of the memoir Peaks and Valleys, a reflection on life's challenges, growth, and the journey forward. But we're going to start talking about Dahlonega sisters. So, and Diane was just about to tell us how she got started on that story. So go ahead.
Okay.
Well,
We want inquiring minds
Yes,
need
we
to
do.
know.
It was very unexpected. My friend, her name is Mutsi. She knew that I wrote, and she wanted me to write her story.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, I don't think I really have the experience to do that. But she says, no, I got to tell you this story. You have to write it. So she met with me, and she told me this very painful, horrific story about a relative. And I won't mention who it was because the person is still alive and still going through troubled times. Anyway, she said that she had a piece of jewelry and she really believed that it was cursed. And my friend was very quirky. Okay, she was very superstitious.
Mm-hmm.
And she thought this ring was cursed. And so she gave it caused a lot of problems in her life, but she
Mhm.
couldn't remember exactly what those problems were because she was elderly. But she knew that when she gave it to this relative, that everything went bad in their life. And so she tells me this very sad, painful story. And when she ended, I said, I'm sorry, Mutsi. I can't write that. It's number one, I'm a happy ever after type of writer. I try to bring hope and fun and humor. And there's just nothing humorous about that. There's nothing. And I wouldn't do it because your family member is still alive. And I would not want that exposed,
Right.
Anyway, so I thought about it and I outlined a story, which turned out to be the gold miner ring. And I gave her an outline of it and suggested what I would write about and making it kind of fun and that. And she really liked it. So I wrote the book, and her health was failing, and I was very worried she wasn't going to make it until I actually published the book. So after the fourth or fifth round of my edits, I spiral bound a copy of the manuscript and gave it to her, and she read it. She really liked it, but she was very serious, and she said, and I said, well, but what's wrong? And she said, well, that main character's name should be Mutsi. And I said, oh, I can fix that. And if you read the book, you find that the character is, like I said, very superstitious. She's very quirky. She dresses funny. She's, just a strange woman, but she wanted her to be Mutsi. And I said, I can take care of that. And she goes, and there's one other thing. She said, I want this man to be named Sam, and after her dad. And I said, I can do that. So I finished the book. I published it. She was fortunately still alive. She actually even was alive during the second and third books. Like I said, I wasn't prepared to write those, but the story kept coming. So I finished that, and her heart was failing. And the day before she passed, I was at the nursing home where she was, and she pulled me aside and she said, "Do you really think that ring was cursed?" Because she said, I can't stand the thought that I caused all those problems in her life. And I'm like, "Oh, honey, there's no way that's, I said, you're okay. Just let God take care of the rest of it, anyway." And she passed the next day. But I thought, oh my goodness, that she carried that all those years,
And
however
truly
long,
believing
and
that
truly
ring was
believing. She was just always worried that was what caused all the problems of this person, So anyway, that's how the Delonico Sisters
started.
was written. Yeah.
Now, have you finished the series?
That series is finished, but I started another series with the same characters. There was an addition to the family, and so it no longer worked with the title The Delonico Sisters. So
you've started a new series, but it's like a branch.
Yes, it has all the same characters and additional characters.
And what's the name of that one?
And that one's called Skipping Stone Lodge.
What is it?
Skipping Stone Lodge.
Skipping Stone Lodge.
New Beginnings.
New Beginnings.
That's and if I say why,
then we know too much.
Yeah. Then
all right, never mind.
I don't want to ruin it.
Don't ruin it for us. Don't ruin it for us. So was that your first novel?
It actually was not. Well, it was the first novel that was published. I started my first novel during National Novel Writing Month, which is November. And there used to be a challenge out there that you should write a 50,000 word novel within 30 days.
Wow.
And I did. And I wrote it. And that novel, unfortunately, had a number of catastrophes along the way. And so that was in 2011, but it did not get published until 2021, I believe.
And the title?
23. That is Sparks to Flame.
Uh-huh.
The Burning Ember Sparks to Flame. So, yeah, that's there. Is that there?
Peace and Valley.
There we go.
Oh, Spark to Flame.
Spark to Flame. And that's another series. And so I'm working on the second one in that series now. But that was actually the very first novel I wrote. And I had no clue how to write a novel, or I didn't know what point of view was. I didn't know anything about writing a novel. I just wrote the story. I made the 50,000 words, so I was proud of myself for that. And then I had actually a former president of the Saturday Writers Group said she would review the manuscript for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so when she presented it to me, after she went over it for 3 hours, she went page by page telling me everything I did wrong.
Ouch.
Yes, it was painful, but she opened my eyes to realizing that I had no clue what I was doing and that I needed to, rework it. So the story remained the same. And it was probably a year before I got it out and started working on it again. Then I had it to where I thought it was getting pretty close to getting an editor. And I went to Chicago with a friend. She was in a convention for a few days, and she said, you could come finish your book there, just stay in the hotel for 3 days and write. And so I did. And I was so excited because I really had this product. I think it was ready. And we left, and at the train station, I dropped my laptop, and I did not have anything backed up. I did not know about the cloud or anything. I lost it all.
Oh my goodness.
I worked on for those 3 days, for years. Anyway, so again, I didn't even bother to buy a laptop for another year.
Oh my goodness. And with that, we're going to leave you all in suspense and go to break. Hey, storytellers, authors, artists, streamers, this one's for you. You've poured your heart into your work. Now let's get out into the world. At Author's Edge, we don't just advertise, we start conversations with interviews, reviews, and behind the scenes stories. Your book or project find its people. Why join us? Because readers are listening and your story deserves to shine. So let's do it together. Call 573-714-1352, Author's Edge, where authors and readers meet. And if you're ready to take the next step with your book, Blue Rooster Publishing is here to help, guiding writers from dream to finished book. Blue Rooster works one-on-one with authors to create books that enlighten, connect, and endure. Stories that reflect our lives, inspire generations, and become lasting family treasures. And here's another great opportunity, especially if you're in Missouri. Consider joining the Missouri Writers Guild, a statewide network founded in 1915 that supports writers through workshops, conferences, contests, local chapters, and professional resources. Members gain access to a literary community and tools to grow their craft. Joining is easy. Visit MissouriWritersGuild.org and sign up online. Whether you're a seasoned author or just starting out, there's a place for you in the Guild. Bada boom, bada bay, and we're going to commercials.
El Potro Restaurant and Market, located at 6920 Manchester Avenue, 1 block east of McCausland, offers the finest variety of Mexican and Central American groceries and goods. El Potro Restaurant serves authentic Mexican and Central American cuisine, including daily specials, not to mention the best horchata and tastiest margaritas in St. Louis. Open 7 days a week. El Potro, 6920 Manchester Avenue, 1 block east of McCausland.
Merton Services is a heating, air conditioning, and commercial refrigeration business that's been providing exceptional services in St. Louis for over 50 years, and they take pride in providing services and comfort to both residential and commercial customers. With the temperatures rising in the summer and dropping in the winter, your comfort and health can be put in jeopardy. With proper checks and maintenance, Mertens will keep your equipment in top shape. And when it's time to replace your furnace or your air conditioner, they've got you covered. With a wide range of options, Mertens has the perfect HVAC system to fit all of your needs. To find out how the good folks at Mertens Services can help you with all of your HVAC needs, contact Mertens Services at 314-845-1500. That's 314-845-1500. Mertens Services, 314-845-1500.
And we're back. And we just crashed our computer. Our laptop went boom. So then what happened?
So I didn't do anything with it for a long time.
Oh.
But I had a couple people read it, and they just were insistent that this is a good story. You need to drag it back out. And so I finally did. I finally did, and I kept working on it. And so I finally got it published. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
It is.
I mean, I understand the heartbreak of breaking your. Oh my gosh! I would have sat. Oh my god! I would have sat down and cried.
Well, especially since it had been so many years I'd been working on it.
Absolutely. Oh, there I go with the absolutely. Okay, so from there, where did your writing journey go?
Well, that actually was the second to last book I published. I went back to the Dahlonega sisters, and I wrote the next book on that. The Skipping Stone Lodge. And so now I'm working back on Burning Embers, which is the original, and I've it's going to have the same characters. It's a continuation sort of the story that I originally wrote. So it focuses more on a detective who helped out in the first book. So it's his story now.
Now, you also published your memoir, Peaks and Valleys.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
I love to learn, and so I would occasionally take classes at either the community college or night school or adult education classes, and um, wrote a number of short stories because they always say write what you know, and so I would write a bunch of short stories and that, and I finally took a class on writing your memoirs, and they suggested, well, take all those short stories that you've got and put them together, and so I did. But the first draft of Peaks and Valleys, was probably twice as long, if not three times as long as what ended up being printed.
Do we have that one out here?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
So it ended up being a therapeutic journey for me. I wrote a lot of things that I had buried or that I had not fully examined from childhood and different things that had happened. And a dear friend of mine, Jerry Pionk, he was a master sergeant in the Army, and I worked for the Department in the Army for 33 years. So
Oh, okay.
I knew him well from there. And he looked it over and he said, well, he made some suggestions, but then he also asked me to stop and think about, do I really want all these
Stories
in there? Some of them were very personal. They shed darkness on certain people or certain things that have happened in my life. And he suggested that, did I really want them in there in print forever, And I thought about it, and thank goodness he made that suggestion.
That was one. All right. My mom also wrote her memoir. Okay.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that we had also talked about, because there are some things in our family as well that, do you really want to have that particular piece of information out there forever?
Right.
About that particular person.
Right. Right.
And so we, like my mother and I, she wrote it, but I was the one that published it. And it was a collaborative thing between my mother and I.
Okay. Sure.
And so I said to her, do you want it to be a positive thing about our lives, or do you want something to be negative in our lives? How do you want the world to see it? And so that was the question, that was
very good. Yeah, that's how he presented it to me.
How do you want it presented? How do you want the world to see our family?
I found that writing really healed a lot of the pains I had.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not to be ignored, because there are a few things in the book that they're honest things. My father had a drinking problem, but that was after my brother died when he was 4.5 from cancer. So, it helped me see things in a different light, to get a different perspective.
Right.
And it wasn't necessary to be in the book. And so I removed a lot of it, and I'm so glad I did.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
a lot of them are just fun stories. There's some sadness in there. Things happen in the family, and but I learned a lot from just writing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I encourage other people to do that. If you got something that troubles you from your childhood or in your life,
mm-hmm.
write about it. You don't necessarily have to do anything. Whether it's a person, write them a letter or whatever. You can burn it. You can tear it up.
Right.
You can
doesn't mean you have to
put
publish
it away. Right.
It doesn't mean you have to publish it.
But there is something that very therapeutic about
putting
that.
it down on paper.
Yeah. And I know.
Absolutely. Oops. Oops. Absolutely. Oops.
That word again.
Yes. And from that Peaks and Valley, I have the quote that you gave me. I realize the size of a goal doesn't matter as long as I have one and work toward it. I continue to move forward, looking ahead just far enough to make sure I'm still on track and glancing back just long enough to see how far I've come. What was happening in your life when you wrote that passage?
As a child or a young person growing up, I can't ever remember having a dream or having saying, "Oh, when I grow up, I want to be." There wasn't a lot of planning like that or thinking like that. Our family, it was basically you'll get married, you'll serve a husband, and that's pretty much your life.
Right.
And so when I started writing all of this and probably when I went to work, I realized that there were opportunities that I had let pass by or I had never even considered doing myself. And so that I think the book itself just made me realize I should have some goals. They don't have to be big. They don't have to rock the world,
Right.
But if I have a reason, a purpose, then I should know what that is and work towards it. And so that's kind of how I've done everything. I don't plan too far ahead. It's not like, okay, in 5 years I'm going to be there. And maybe when I was working, and they often ask that if you went for an interview or some sort, they'd say, well, where do you plan to be in 5 years? I don't know, alive, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully alive. Yeah.
Anyway, so
I think my generation is the generation that started to ask, what do you want to be when you graduate, or where do you want to go when do you want to go to college? I think that was one of the first, because I graduated in 73.
Yeah.
Okay.
And see, I was a little before you, 69. So that was the mindset back then. I mean, well, at least in my family.
Right. I don't think they were asking kids really what they wanted to do after high school too much before that. I don't know. Did they ask you when you graduated what you wanted to do when you left high school?
Not really. We didn't. I don't recall us having a college advisor on our campus or having a counselor assigned to our class.
See,
so we didn't get a lot of that. What do you want to do with your life? And I think maybe guys got a little bit more, but than girls did.
Yeah.
Looking back.
Oh,
at
absolutely.
It.
My advisor was you're either going to get married, that was it, or
have a family.
Yeah, you were. Yeah, and mine was she told me specifically. She said, "You're not going very far."
Oh goodness.
Yeah. That's what she told me. You're not going very far.
Well, it reminds me.
I became a teacher, by the way.
Well, good for you. My daughter, I have to share this little story. She'll die of that.
Yes.
I actually put it out there, but and I said that I was involved with Girl Scouting. I was volunteer for a long time, and I had a troop, and we were meeting at school, and there was an advisor there, and the computer systems were just coming into the schools where they actually had programs to help you guess, what you would be good with.
Aptitude.
And it had to be grade school. She had to be like in 8th grade or something like that. Maybe not even that old. Anyways, so we had the opportunity to use this computer program.
Uh-huh.
And so my daughter was like, oh, I'm going to do it first. So she did. And she answers all the questions. And the answer comes up of what she would be good at. And it was artificial insemination of cows.
Well, sounds like
I had no idea there was such a thing. I was very green back then, And I turned to the advisor and I said, it's all you. I can't tell her what that is. Anyway, but we laugh about that. But
oh my goodness.
She's an agronomist now, so I guess it's not far from the field she was leaning towards.
Yeah. Oh my.
But of all the things to pop up, that was
That,
So-
yeah.
Diane, career-wise, now that you're writing and things of that nature and retired, I suppose, but you
Mhm.
did you were an Army,
I worked for the Department of the Army for 33 years.
and where was that at?
And it was done at 9700 Page Avenue at the Record Center.
That's here
I-
in St. Louis?
It wasn't in St. Louis. Now,
Okay.
And what
Now it's
exactly
at
did
Fort
you do?
Knox. Most of my career I was in management. I ended up being in management, supervisory duties. I worked for what was originally Headquarters Department of the Army. We had an office here. And then they closed that office and transferred it to Washington, D.C. And then I worked for the Army Review Boards Agency, which handles everything from if there's a mistake in a record, or if you're missing your medals, awards, or somebody
Okay.
else's.
Oh, I
all
need to
those
talk
kind of
to you.
things.
Documentation,
So,
records.
yeah.
And,
Well,
keeping
the
track of-
National Personal Record Center was also at 9700 Page, and they maintain all the records, especially of retired or deceased veterans, Army veterans.
Mhm.
But as the agency I worked for, the two agencies were very small agencies, and so they eventually closed the second agency as well. The Army Review Boards Agency, it was a division here, and they moved it to Arlington, Virginia, where their headquarters is. And anyway, so I was in management and supervision for most of my career.
No, because
So-
I've been, well,
Yeah.
both Ralph and I have been doing family history stuff, and I'm looking for my grandfather's records.
Then you need to go to the National Personal Record Center over off of 270 and.
Well, I keep getting, the thing that I keep getting is that they keep saying the place burned down.
Well, it's the
And-
fourth and fifth floors, fourth and fifth and sixth
And
floors.
everything's
Top
been,
two floors were burnt back in 72 or 70.
so then maybe
3, I
it's,
think
maybe
it was
it's possible
73.
that all those records are gone.
Well, but they've reconstructed a lot of them, and they can get morning reports and different things. So if you have some basic information, they can help you
I do.
reconstruct. And I'll get with you and give you a address or a phone number or something.
Okay.
if it's still
That'd be
there.
great.
So they moved from Page Avenue to
But we need to get back to
out
this.
there. Yes.
Yes.
But that would be great.
Yeah.
Okay. So the other thing then, let's go on to, yeah, thank goodness he's around. Okay. The writer behind the work. Which comes first for you? Character, situation, or the line that won't leave you alone?
Most of the time, character.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although I did have a story that I had to write. I woke up in the middle of the night with the last line, and I just had to get up at 3:00 in the morning and write the damn story because it would not let me go back to sleep. So, but it ended up winning an award. So, yeah.
Did
was a
it
good
go into
story.
one of your books?
It's in an anthology.
Oh,
One of the Saturday
wonderful.
Writers anthology. Anyway, but yeah, like I said, my characters a lot of times will talk to me. Even my first novel, all I had were 2 character sheets. I had a male and a female, and the story just came to me.
And the story just came to you. I had to do
So-
another radio show identifier. This is
Okay.
Author's Edge on KWRH FM 92.9 and KXOK FM 102.9, where today we are talking with Diane Howe, creator of the Dalanga Sisters, stories rooted in family relationships and the journeys that shape us. So, how do you know when a story is finished?
I don't seem to have a problem with the story itself. It's just going back and building on it, adding more. I write tight, so I don't
Doing details?
I don't do details as much as I probably should. So going back and adding that in takes me more time. But for some reason, the story will just come to me, and it just comes to an end, and then I go back and edit and work on trying to dig deeper. I belong to actually there's 3 different critique groups. And one lady in particular, who is a great author, she pushes me to dig deeper and to expand on things, and not hurry
the story.
Yeah. And that seems to be one of my weaknesses.
Do you ever sneak suspense into your women's fictions just to keep readers alert?
Actually, all 3 of the Dahlonega sister books have suspense in it. And so does the Burning Embers series. So yeah, I like a little bit of suspense. I don't want people, closing the book up and afraid to finish reading it because they don't want to know what happened, But I like to put them on the edge and let them guess, what's happening next, So I do like that.
Romantic suspense sounds glamorous, yet until the revisions come along. Okay. What part of the genre is the least romantic?
Well, in my romantic suspense, there's a death threat. And I'm not really good about writing those type of scenes, because again, it's hard to be happy ever after, when you get somebody threatening to kill you, So those are probably my least favorite to write, and that's the least romantic, even when it involves somebody who you thought you might be able to create a romance with, which is the particular case in my book there. So,
as a member of multiple writers guilds, do writers ever stop talking about writing?
Well, I haven't heard. There's been no silence. How about that? Yeah. We have, especially in Saturday Writers Group, there are all levels. So of writers, beginners, people who've never written anything but are interested in trying to write something, and those who've got multiple books out. So there's always somebody that's willing to talk or willing to lend an ear or offer suggestions or encourage. And we bring in speakers every month to help in that category too.
When was the first time you said to yourself, I now see myself as a writer?
Probably maybe after about the 3rd or 4th short story I got published. So even I think I still feel that my writing is a hobby, not a career. It's not, I don't ever expect to be on the
New York Times
New York
bestseller.
Times, but I like to think that maybe somebody gets a few hours of enjoyment from reading one of my books, and it just takes them away from whatever stresses they have in their life, and they can have a good sigh when they get done reading it and think, oh, I didn't want that to end. Yeah. So
is there a theme you keep returning to without realizing it until someone points it out to you?
Probably that I write with hope and maybe a little bit of surprise, unexpected windows opening, in people's minds. That I'd like to think that's.
You use a lot of humor in your stories?
I do. It's necessary. Otherwise, it's too dry, I like humor, and it just helps with everything. And I think it lifts people's spirits when you use a little bit of humor. And I love a good book that just makes you stop
makes
and
you
laugh
giggle.
and laugh, and yeah. So, anyway,
What's the best thing writing has taught you about people?
everybody has a story. Every person, whether you like them or dislike them, they're a combination of all their experiences. And if you sit and you listen to them, then you can get to know them so much better. And I think that's what I like to do. I love to sit and talk with somebody. And I think there's a thread that connects all of our lives. And if you just talk to somebody long enough, you find that thread. You find that there's some time your paths have crossed, or something that's familiar that you can share with them. So, yeah.
Now, are you self-published?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I am.
Do you create your own deadlines, or do you?
Yeah, usually.
How do you stick to your deadlines?
Well, this isn't a good year to ask me that because I'm way behind. But for some reason, when I wrote the Dahlonega sisters, well, I think the first book, I pushed myself to get it done so that my friend could see it before she passed. And once I published that one, and I thought I can do this next one because I already knew the story, it was coming, and they were telling me. And so you have to. I work with an editor, and she needs months in advance to know when you're going to give it to her. So by setting a deadline, then I can push myself and say, okay, it's there, And I usually try to beat that deadline at least, and have it ready. So that's kind of how I've worked. I set a date ahead of when I need to turn it over to. And my editor hasn't been available for some months, so it kind of gave me reason to slack off.
Yeah.
So now I need to get it. And then with the Dahlonega sister series, if I take them to Dahlonega and sell them they have a Christmas Candy Cane Lane event every year. I sell out no matter how many books I take with me. I end up selling
cool.
out. It is wonderful, and it's a real boost,
Yeah.
And it helps pay for the next book coming out.
There you go.
Anyway, so I tried to work with the deadline of knowing that I want to take the next book down so that I can sell it.
How can our listeners get in touch with you?
They can.
If they want a book,
they can.
it's on Amazon?
It's on Amazon. They can look at author Diane DianeMHowe.com. That's my
author DianeMHowe.com.
And they can also send me an email at author DianeMHowe at gmail.com.
Okay.
So,
all right. Well, thank you so much for sharing your stories and your journey with us today. It's been a pleasure having you in the studio.
thank you.
And to our listeners, thanks for spending part of your day with us here on Author's Edge. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to join us next time when we welcome Albert Morrow, author of High Plains Haunting and Other Tales of the Paranormal West. And we'll be heading into the Paranormal West, and you won't want to miss a thing. Until then, keep reading, keep creating, and we will see you around the inkwell. Bada boom, bada bay.